All right, gang. So for our last session of the day, we've got an excellent speaker on board here. We've got Gabe Larson of Inside Sales. Gabe is an executive at Inside Sales. He's also been with Accenture, Gallup, and Goldman Sachs. So he's got lots of different experience. And currently, he's running the research and best practice arm at Inside Sales. And he's here today to talk to us about something we all can relate to. That crazy push at the end of the month, end of the quarter, trying to close all those deals last minute. And maybe that's not the best approach. Maybe there's a better way, right, Gabe?
That's what we're going to talk about.
All right, well, take it away.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Vanook here reminded me I happen to be wearing the same shirt as in the picture. Damn it. Take that off cut that piece from the, yeah, it must be lucky. Yeah. So I run what we call Inside Sales Labs, as Sarah mentioned. That's our research and best practice arm. I also host the #1 sales acceleration podcast. That's #1 according to my wife, probably is about it, but you should check that out. This is interesting, you guys. We've got why, what, and how, and we're going to be talking about this thing that happens at the end of the month. Let's just get into it. So this right here, can I get down from this thing? I mean, I think we've all seen this thing here. I'd never visualized it before, but you obviously have a quarter and sales start relatively slow, and then obviously at the end of the quarter, they pick up in some form or fashion. Now, if you're like us, it's more like January, February, nothing, and then March, it's like, whoa, it pops up at the very end. I think we've all experienced it. The question is, why does it happen and what we can do to solve it? So these three are my three boys, Noah, Crew, and Jude. This is a picture we took in Hawaii. This is just a couple months ago. What you don't see in this picture is right after we take this, the one on the right knocks the glasses off the one in the middle. Or so I think, right? So the one in the middle starts crying, and he points to the one on the right, and the one on the right then points to the one on the left. And then you get this kind of roundabout effect happening. For those of you who have kids, these are my three monsters. When it comes to the end of the month disaster or the end of the quarter disaster, we have three culprits that we can potentially blame. We've got our sales leader, our sales rep, and our customer. And I've been on the phone. I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but I've seen or experienced some version of this, right? So a sales leader says, what do we got to do to get the deal? Let's just do it. Doesn't matter what we got to do. The sales rep then says, fantastic. I'll just give you the very best price. And then the customer says, great, I'll wait till Sunday night, 11:59 p.m., and I will get the best one. I mean, you've heard it, I've heard it. I seriously was talking to a customer. This is one of our customers, so this is a little bit embarrassing, but he said, with SaaS companies, I don't care. I'll seriously wait until the last day of the quarter, Sunday night, and I will get half the price that I would normally get. I was on the phone with one of our own sales reps. This is probably just a couple months back, where the sales rep literally said, hey, you just wait a couple more weeks, I'll get you a better price. I mean, we know it, you guys. We've seen it. We've experienced it, and it is devastating. It's devastating. So we then tried to do this. So for the first time, I've been a sales rep for 15 years, or in some form of sales. But I've never been able to quantify it. I mean, we all know the problem. We've experienced it in one way or another, but is it bad? I mean, is it good? Finally, we were able to quantify it. Wait till you see some of these numbers. They're crazy. So we actually look at almost 10 million sales opportunities, right? We didn't go just interview 200 sales executives or sales leaders. We literally looked at almost 200 companies, 10 million sales opportunities. Average revenue of these companies is $360 million. These are large companies, more than 2 years of data. Has anybody ever looked at more than 10 million sales? This is legitimate information. I just want to make sure that you have in your head, this isn't like a pulse survey with this people in the room and this is your opinion. No. This is 200, this is 10 million opportunities. He's like, I get it, let's move on. Good. So here's some of the results of this study. So we look at every day of the month. That's what we're seeing here, right? So these are days away from the last day of the month. So number of deals won, number of deals lost, nothing too special. And I was thinking, dang it. I mean, I thought we'd see something at the end of the month, but what's missing on this graph? No, you're totally, no, there's one day that's missing. It's right, it belongs right here. Notice what's happened. Drum roll, please. Boom! Look at that. The last day of the month. Hold on, I want to go back for effect. Let's see this. Boom! Whoa. Look at that. Last day of the month. Same thing happens on the last day of the quarter. Same thing happens on the last day of the year. Now there's this euphoric effect that happens. So see if you can go with me for a second. So the last day of the month, the green is the number of deals won. So on the last day of the month or quarter, 3x the number of deals are won compared to the average day of the month. So if I talk to you as a sales leader, I'm like, hey, what happens on the end of the month? What do sales leaders say? We close a bunch of deals. He's right. He does. He closes 3 times the number of deals on the last day compared to the rest of the month. But notice that gray box. It doesn't even fit on the slide. You lose 11 times the number of deals that you do during the rest of the month, the average of the rest of the month. Now, why? Now, some of you are just nodding your head and you're like, hey, man, look, last day of the month, people are cleaning out their pipeline. That's the reason you have 11x number of deals closed? There's no way. There's no way that's possible. That can't be it, you guys. There's no way that's possible. So what is happening on the last day of the month? Why do you have this crazy number of deals won, number of deals lost? Now, when we double click on it, look at this. So this is the deal size. Deal size on the last day of the month. Now, again, we're trending the entire month here. First day of the month all the way, and you notice it trends up right that last week of the month. There is an optimal time to get bigger deal size, and it is right before the end of the month. But that day, you see a 35% drop in deal size on average across 10 million sales opportunities. 35% drop in deal size. What happens to win rates? Well, we basically saw it. If you look at the day before the last day compared to that last day of the month, you see a 51% decrease in win rate. My ability to close a deal on the last day of the month is terrible. Now, what compounds it even more? Check this out. This is hilarious. Weekends. If you look at the end of the month or quarter and you look at win rates versus weekdays versus weekends, I have an 82% higher win rate on weekdays than I do weekends. Oh my goodness. I talked to some sales leader the other day and he's like, oh my goodness. I'll often, it's the last day of the month. I'll bring in pizza. It's a Saturday or it's a Sunday. We'll try to close those very last deals. God, it's almost not even worth it. On those last days, you are literally, I don't know what the analogy is. Something bad is happening to affect your deal size and your win rates. So what is this actually costing companies? When we looked at it and said, if you were able to maintain your deal size, if you were able to maintain even an average win rate that you had the rest of the month, instead of dropping 51%, how much revenue could you increase? 27%. Holy smokes, you guys. 27%? Talk to any sales leader. Do you know they say the average tenure of a CRO is now 18 months, and why is it? Because he can't hit his numbers. She can't hit her numbers. What if I told you just by fixing those behaviors at the end of the month or end of the quarter, you could increase your revenue by 27%? It's mind-boggling. Am I the only one who thinks that's cool? I mean, I just was fascinated by this. Obviously, I ran the study. Looks like you guys don't quite have the same passion that I do. But I thought it was interesting. It's apparently not as interesting. But 27% just by doing different things at the end. Now, you're saying, Gabe, look, we still have to, it's not going to change. I mean, we've been doing sales like this for hundreds of years. So how do we change it? Well, here's a couple ideas that we've actually interviewed top companies to figure out how they're solving this problem in their own organization. So one is, this is a general study. Again, I know it's 10 million sales opportunities, a couple hundred companies. I think it's a big deal, but maybe you don't. You need to figure out how this affects in your organization. What does it look like? What is the hockey stick actually costing your company? I bet if I ask everybody in this room, you don't know. Do you? You don't know. And it's costing you potentially millions. The average company was losing $98 million. $98 million because of what they're doing on that last day, last quarter. So how do you do that? We call it a sweet spot analysis. Now what you're seeing here is, it's just a calendar. This is a monthly, and this is a little detailed, but what you see here is all the companies we studied. On the columns up there, you've got deal size. You got days over here, the green and red, these are all win rates. There are actual optimal times where you win deals in an organization. Might be a certain day of the month. We found, for example, in our own organization, our mid-market team had their best win rates right in the middle of the month. I'll show you it in just a minute. The 17th of the month. You can see the bigger the deal size, the better chance you have of winning later in the month. But how does it look for you? So we asked companies to run this study on their own data in their own organization. Now, once you do that, you can do two interesting things. And these are data-driven approaches. One is this compensation concept. So I mentioned, we ran this for ourselves, our mid-market team. The 17th of the month was optimal. So what did we do? We put a spiff in place to close around our optimal time of the month where we win the most deals. So you can see up there, $300 extra commission, deal closed between this moment and Sunday, July 17th. July 17th, again, that was our optimal, the optimal time of the month. The next is focusing on customer timelines rather than your own fake timeline. So we all know a close plan, but we don't really do it. A lot of us have this kind of chaos. We got to get a little more organized. So here's a sample close plan. This is one we've used at InsideSales.com. It's nothing too fancy. But you'll notice I've highlighted that 1227 because in this instance, we were building a close plan around the optimal time where we had our better win rates. In this case, 1227. Remember, not right at the end of the month, a couple days before. For this particular team, that was more optimal. So we actually took our close plan and pushed the client to close when we knew we win the most. Now, this one you've heard from other vendors, but a CRM and trying to forecast can be so difficult. I usually like to think of it like this. I mean, a CRM, you can try to use, most CRMs, they go so wide, they don't go very deep. But there are, if you're actually cooking a meal, it's best to use a chef knife, something that's designed for that. They say that the average forecast rates are sitting at about 50%. That's just below flipping a coin. That's what most reps do. Now, there are tools designed specifically for forecasting, and you can get your forecast accuracy as high as 80%. So what I coach organizations to do, and whether you use our tool, we have a predictive forecasting tool called High Definition Forecast. Whether you use our tool or something else, here's the conversation I have with the sales leader. I say, look, I get it, okay? It's the end of quarter. You got 100 deals that you want to try to pull into this quarter. You're not going to get all 100 of them. What if I could give you a predictive analysis? What if I could tell you that of those 100 deals, 25 of those have a 90% chance of being able to pull into the next quarter, and the other 75, you just don't even want to waste your time. Attention is our most prized possession. As sales reps, we cannot just randomly be going after every deal. We got to prioritize. So, Mr. Sales Leader, focus on those 25 deals. Spend all your effort on those, pull those in, let the other 75 waste. That's what predictive forecasting can provide for sales ops and sales leaders. Okay, this concept, maniacal focus on weekly forecasting. This is one of the things I've probably seen to be most effective. You can't obviously wait till the end of the month or end of the quarter to know what your forecast is and have your forecast meeting. So I believe in some sort of structured governance meeting, and I prefer it to be weekly. And if you're running small deals, it's all about close, close, close if you're in a transactional model. If you're in a relational model, it's all about milestones. You got to hit milestone, milestone, milestone. But unless you have some sort of organization, you're not going to be able to run that. So just walk with me for a minute. So this is what happens in our organization. Thursday morning, I got my sales reps running their own forecast, submitting their forecast. Then in the afternoon on Thursday, my sales managers get that. They then see what they need to do. They roll up their forecast. Then Friday morning, the VP gets all the managers in the room. He does his roll-up forecast. Then we roll it up to the CEO or the executive team Friday afternoon. Every week, maniacal focus, forecast governance. You got to do it. You just can't get around it. Again, transactional deals, it's all about close, close, close. Relational deals, it's about hitting milestone, milestone, milestone. Now, wrapping it up here, here's my 5 things. Determine your sweet spots. You can run this study on your own data. I'd be happy to help you if you don't think you can. It's not that hard. Realign compensation around your own data, around your sweet spot. Build that close plan around your sweet spot. Make sure you think about CRM and what it really is used for. And then last but not least, make sure you have a governance structure around your forecasting activity. So if you haven't seen this study, you guys, it is awesome. If you've not gotten it from me, go read it yourself. You can see it at insidesales.com/research. If you do want these slides, it's so funny. I've been getting like these random phone calls from timeshares and overseas. I think it's because I keep giving out my phone number. One of you has given out my phone number to some random foreign company. That is actually my phone number. Text me your name and email, and I'll be happy to give you my slides. Please do check it out. End of month strategies. We call it time-based strategies, the high cost of procrastination. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabe. We have a couple minutes remaining. If you want to do a little Q&A, I'll hop around, and looks like we've got some questions.
Yeah, I've got my own questions, so.
Thank you. That was good. Did you do in the study any way of separating the factors that the vendor is doing from the behaviors that the clients are doing? Obviously, the clients have learned this tactic.
Yeah.
You shorten the days from 30 days in the month to 28, then they just do it 2 days earlier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, you can't really control the client, but some of the things that you point out help you avert that.
Well, we did find that the client is as guilty as everybody. Like I said in my story, I mean, the client is onto this, and we've been doing it for hundreds of years. The problem is, that's why the study is called time-based closing strategies. Anytime, so we found people will change their year end to different times. They will try to put different time-based incentive. Anytime you create a time-based program, reps will realign around it, and they'll treat it like the end of the month. So you've got to do something different that doesn't force that kind of issue. While you can't get rid of the urgency. I mean, as one of the ways we close is urgency. So how do you do that best? Well, again, I think you align around the customer's timeline. That's one way to do it, right? When do you need to get it closed? Let's see if we can't force you to do that. That's their timeline versus your timeline. So that's an interesting one. Good. Mr. Vanuk. He needs no introduction.
For the 11X on the last day of the month.
You saying I made that up?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
Well, I am now. You're a little defensive. Is the close loss reason similar to the other days, or did you look at, like, was there no purchase at all, or did they go to a competitor? What was kind of the breakdown of that 11X for close loss? Same as the others?
Well, we didn't have it. Didn't have that data. Because a lot of people have pushed back, like I said, and said, hey, end of quarter, end of month, we're just cleaning out our pipeline, right? But again, I just don't think it's 11X. I'll give you like a 2X. But yeah, don't have the reason. Good question. Any other questions?
So just have you looked into any differences with changing discount rates or something more of like an Apple model where there is no discount to see what those effects would have in the analytical side in the end?
Yeah, I mean, right now, so we this research report's like 30 days old, right? Yeah, so I mean, that actually is the next thing, is to figure out, because we've been trying to interview companies to figure out what is the solution. So we're talking to a company right now. They're switching their, because one of the big problems is the deal size, right? Like, the deal size is dropping by 34%, basically 35% on average. What if we paid on margin? Every SaaS company pays on deals in or ARR in. Nobody pays on margin. If you went to an Oracle where they sell hardware, they pay on margin because they can't lose so much on the deal. So one company's actually, they're in such a bad position that they're going to run a incentive plan that's based on margin. So to get to your specific question, like, what are some of the, if people do different things, how does it affect it? Talk to me in 3 months or 6 months and we'll know. But at the moment, we just found it, man, Isn't that good enough? Anyways. Good, you guys. Well, appreciate it. If you have questions, grab me after. I'd certainly be happy to discuss it. Thanks so much, Sarah.
Thank you, Gabe. Thank you to all the diehards who stayed for the final session of the day. We appreciate it. Thank you very much to Gabe. That was an excellent study. And please, everyone that's here now, come back tomorrow. We've got a full day. We've got 6 sessions in this room again. Check your little guidebooks for what those sessions actually are. We've got morning sessions and afternoon. So enjoy happy hour and the dinners this evening, and hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow.